Hello and welcome to Agents Across the Pond, the podcast where UK agents and US realtors break down what's really happening in the real estate space right now. The deals, the marketing, the wins, the losses, and what separates the people from building real businesses from the people who are just staying busy. My name's Liam Gretton.
And I'm Danny Smith, and we're going to get into it today by asking Liam what's been going on in his market this week, what interesting conversations he's been having with local agents on the back of speaking with Haley last week and all of the insight that we got from her in the auction business.
Well, what's been happening this week? Liam has left the chat. It's been a week of ups, downs, absolute roller coasters. Uh, but I feel like I've finished off the week really, really well. So just to give you a little bit of insight, um, for the first time ever, I've had two fall throughs in the same week, and it's a real kick in the ribs. So the first one, very tight time constraints on moving. The buyer was receiving a salary from another country. His mortgage advisor essentially couldn't help him secure the lending that he needed, which tells me they didn't do the right checks at the very beginning with the mortgage in principle, because the mortgage in principle, it showed that they could afford more than what this property was. But it was when they went to the mortgage offer and all the details that it appeared that obviously his salary was then coming from another country. He'd only been in the UK for a year. Absolute headache there. So sadly, the sellers of that property have said, look, our rates are really going up. We're not comfortable with going to spend X amount extra from June, so we're going to stay where we are. And once we've got our wedding out the way, then they'll re-look at it. Another fall through where mainly a surveyor, um, the guy who owns the property had a damp course done. So a damp course is to protect. I don't know if you guys have this in the US, but with brick buildings, essentially, um, they can build up a lot of moisture, and then your paint will basically become fluffy. Your plasterboard will just fall off. Like most houses, in some way, shape, or form in a country like this, will have elements of damp. And the seller of this particular property actually spent £4,000 last year fixing damp issues. But yet a surveyor's gone in and gone, well, actually, you've still got damp. And then the buyers have got someone in to quote it. Originally, he said 3.5, 4 grand to fix, and then overnight it's jumped to 10 grand to fix. So it's
Just
that
for the
it's
US listeners,
yeah,
what damp is a little bit more in like a little bit more in depth, if you could.
yeah, definitely.
It's not flooding, it's
It's not flooding, but it's where moisture is getting sucked into the walls, into the brickwork, into the timber, and deteriorating that area of the property. Um, you will find it quite a lot in the UK. I think it's very, very common, and there are ways to fix this issue, but it is a very expensive fix. And for a lot of people, you hear the word damp, you worry. You see damp on the wall, you worry. But I think that worry is more, where is it coming from, and what's the cost to fix it? Ultimately, this sale's fallen through because a surveyor said that there's damp there, but we've got a damp specialist saying there isn't. They've now got a damp specialist who turns out to be a friend also saying, yeah, it's there. So a
Mhm.
couple of red flags flying. But then on the positive side of things, I had a property that we've just sold, keys handed over today, over 1 million. Really, really happy for that, because the sellers of this property have been trying to sell for 3 years. So to get that over the line, and for them to be a little bit teary when they're saying thank you, it means a lot in what we do as a business and how we connect with people,
Mhm.
and ultimately helping them on to the next chapter of their lives. We had a few properties go live this week, but one I've got coming on, I'm hoping to shoot it next week, Dan. It has a ballroom, like a 19. So the house was built 1906, and it's got a ballroom. It was previously owned by a shipping company who used to operate on the Mersey or out of the Mersey. So it's got a lot of history. I'm really looking forward to getting a tuxedo on and filming in this property.
Brilliant. Are you going to be dancing away with someone in the ballroom? Do like an Ed Sheeran music video?
Yeah, do you know what? It's funny you say that, because I did say it to the sellers that, look, I'm going to have to get a few people dressed up and we can have our own little ball. But I think nowadays with AI, there's probably a way that we can shoot it and turn this ballroom into a party,
Yeah,
essentially.
a buzzer in place. I wanted
It
to
was
ask
in
you a quick
place.
question on damp, just because whilst we're on it, does it then sort of relay into mold issues?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I do think there's a difference. So here, when it comes to the rental market, a lot of people will say, I've got damp in the property, but it is just condensation build-up turning into mold. And 9 times out of 10, you will hear agents say, open the window, let some ventilation into the property. Um, where with damp, like you can feel the coldness on the back of your hand when you touch it. You can rub your hand across the paint and it will just flake away. Um, I'll get try and it's I think actually the room I'm in now has damp, to be honest, probably behind this paneling at the bottom. It's very, very common in the UK market. That's pretty much been my week here, mate.
yeah.
Some nice properties got on the market. Yeah, it's been a busy week actually.
All right. So we'll give you a bit of insight into. I've had a couple of meetings this week. I got
But I
introduced
should have
to a
actually
gentleman.
said, I should have
Go on.
said then, Dan. I should have said, what about you, mate? Rather than
Exactly.
just,
Yeah.
sorry, mate, sorry. So, Dan, what have you been doing this week?
In this week, I was introduced. Well, actually, last week I was introduced to a an investor, property investor, who have sort of been building this relationship with. And then this week, we sort of were reaching out again. We went for coffee. He was talking to me about a bunch of investors that he sort of has a group of people that it's like a little mini community that they have. They're all landlords. Um, and something that tends to get lost for them in their business, he was saying, was over years, we have inflation, but it seems as though tenants are very good at managing to keep their rent down, and like at the price that they're at. And some of these landlords have had homes um, basically for over 15 years with a tenant in them, which is great because they've had a consistent tenant in there, but they've not been able to increase the rents and sort of align it with what the market value is. And I thought this was extremely interesting because I thought, well, this is actually a little pocket of people. And if he's got a bunch of investors who are, all in the same boat where they're struggling to align themselves and get their tenants up to what the market value is, and that problem exists, then maybe there could be an avenue for a professional real estate rental analyst to come in and sort of guide them and help them sort of get the correct market value for their property, because they're struggling. And the analogy I used with them was kind of like, if you're ever trying to coach or teach your kid anything, how they just don't listen to you. However,
Yeah.
then you go to a professional or your school teacher or their coach, or over here, soccer coaches or a coach of a sport is usually well respected by the kids. And you ask them to sort of teach and coach your point, then that actually really makes a difference in being in accepting those those issues that have arisen, and sort of putting together something for this investor is a different avenue. Now, the one thing that I found intriguing was like that this doesn't really exist for people. And I was like, we've got all different avenues in real estate where we can generally make money, and whether that may be as a property manager, just in general sale transactions. But I felt like this was a unique opportunity where it's something different. That there's, in New Jersey, roughly 50% of the entire state rents. So there's a lot of
Wow.
landlords out there that are actually, probably undervaluing what their home's worth because they've just had a tenant and they get comfortable, and then aligning that and basically putting them back up to where they need to be to not get into a big hole as well on a property, because at the end of the day it's a business that they're running, and when the cost of taxes and insurances and everything and maintenance goes up, and your rent has stayed the same for over 15 years, you're going to get caught up to eventually, and your profitability is going to get absolutely chewed away. So I thought it was a great opportunity, or a new opportunity, that I wanted to sort of seek the ability to add that into my business. Now, I have over here, we are obviously going to have conversations with our brokerages about how we would be able to set up this plan, what the cost of this would be, how we integrate it into our current model. But it's definitely an opportunity. We have property management within real estate. So it could be set up in the same sort of way, but I thought this was a fantastic way to help landlords. And not only that, landlords are not only just people who are renting people's homes, they're obviously looking to invest in more real estate and get more properties in the future. So it could turn out to be a lucrative deal if these people do want to grow their real estate portfolio. And that's something that I was talking about as well with you a while back, that no realtors over here seem to talk or promote growing a real estate portfolio. And that's why I've integrated that into my website. I think it's a fantastic avenue. It's something that we can teach consumers about, but also other realtors can look at this as an opportunity to network with investors, help them realign their rental market prices, and then if you're doing that for them on the front basis and getting their rents up to what the market value is, when they seek a new property to invest in to add to their portfolio, boom, you're the guy that they go to buy that property. And if they need to sell a property in the future because they want to, diversify or whatever it is they want to do, then you're the first person that they come to as well when it comes to selling a property. It's like adding another tool to your book. You know what I mean? Your
I
arsenal.
think that's important with businesses. Excuse me. I think it's really important with businesses to have their core business of this is what we do, but ensure that we are also expert servicing left and right of that. Not necessarily being kind of far left or far right, um, where people don't understand what your business is, but really you've got that core business, and we can go, Danny, you're looking for a valuation. Now, it's funny that you mentioned this because it's an opportunity. Actually, in the UK this week, so it kicked in on the 1st of May, we had a massive reform change when it comes to the rental market, like huge. No one's seen this in a long time. So just to give you an insight from this side of things, um, so when you signed up a tenant or someone let property, you used to do 6 months tied in, you do 12 months tied in. Now there are no periodic tenancies, so you can no longer set a fixed term. All tenancies are rolling. This is for every single tenant in the country. So all tenancies are rolling, and they can leave at any time, but they've got to give you 2 months' notice. A landlord, sorry, I should say, there's no fault evictions. They are banned. So you can't just turn around, go, I want this property back, and you're evicted. You must give a valid reason, i.e., rent arrears, antisocial behaviour, to be able to evict the tenant now.
What if I want to sell the
Renting
property? You can't sell the property. I'm still renting it.
So this is where I think it gets really complicated, actually, because I'm led to believe that, let's say you're renting a property now and you do evict the tenant because you want to sell it, but yet you have then a 12-month window to sell that property. You can't rent that back out. So let's say it falls through, you've got an empty property that you're now paying for.
Mhm.
Because, like, to me, a lot of people thought, oh, it's tenant reform, but I actually think it's more about landlord risk now. But this continues. So rent increases are limited. So you can only raise the rent once a year, and you've got to give 2 months' notice. Tenants can challenge the rent increase. So I love how you're on the other side laughing about this. Um, there is a ban on advance rent and rent bidding. So that basically means that you can't ask for more than 1 month's rent up front, and you can't encourage bidding over the advertised rent. So if it says £1,100 a month, that is the rent that you're charging.
So
Um,
there's no security deposit stuff?
yeah, so the deposits will still be there.
Okay.
They're still there.
And is that
There's
still 1 month's rent, or what does the security
yeah, so
number
so
entail?
so so I've got a rental. It's one month's rent.
Okay.
Yeah, and that fits in there. The list goes on in terms of like so. No discrimination in letting, so you've got to consider all tenants equally. No blanket bans on those on benefits or with children or with pets. You can't unreasonably refuse pets, but you've got to ask. You may ask the tenant to get pet insurance, and the list goes on, mate. Honestly, it goes on and on. But it's all about, like, to me, and I think I posted this the other day. I don't know if you've seen it. It might have been on Facebook, but it's all about tenant reform, where actually, to me, it's more about the landlord risk because the demand of properties is now shrinking in terms of what's coming to the market, but yet the supply of tenants is still out there, which tells me that it's just going to accelerate rent prices and probably put more tenants in a bad situation.
Um, it's very interesting because I feel like the markets are it's really different over here. I don't think that there's not many specifics like you just mentioned on like how you can increase your rent. Really the market's the market, and like it's like anything. Like when you go and buy a PlayStation the first week it comes out, and people have all bought them all up and they're trying to sell them for 2 grand compared to the 500 that they bought it for. It's just the market price pretty much over here, and you get to say no and you get to say yes. And it was kind of a little bit what we were talking about when it comes to price. I mean, I had a
Yeah,
comment. Go on.
we're here, mate. That's out the window now.
Yeah,
It's very
it's
much
not
that, look, you're a
the
landlord, you're
manipulative.
investing your money, your time, your effort into purchasing a property. But I tell you what, you can't do this, this, and this. To
Yeah, we're
me,
gonna tie your hands.
it's absolutely mental.
Yeah, it's not. It's making it like, and I'm not saying that there's not right and wrong to this because then it comes political. Do you know what I mean? And I don't want to get
Oh
it
yeah,
into a political point, but there's no industry in a business that you can turn around and say, oh, you can't charge this for your product. Do you know what I mean?
exactly.
So like,
Nailed it.
because it's a house, like it's the same principle. I
Yeah,
still don't think so. I think like a house is something that's marketable, and you get to say yes or no to it. Like,
it is. A property is a product for an end user at the end of the day. We just take for granted that we live in them.
yeah.
I think where it's the same with the sale market. That property is a product. It's an item that's on the market for sale for someone to use.
Mhm.
You should be able to sell that for as much or be able to get as much money out of that product as possible.
If you're going to control the rents, then you have to control people's pricing of selling properties as well, right? Like, why is it
Yeah,
I can ask for as whatever I want when I want to sell this property, but because I'm renting it, oh, I've got all these like stipulations now.
it's mad, isn't it? Mad.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
don't
So
get me wrong, fair housing, obviously, it's a real thing. Like you want people to be able to have homes to live in. Like it's
yeah,
expected, but like you can't just be giving people homes, especially when there's value in location. Like, yeah, it's as simple as that. Like, you can't just give a house away when the property could be in a great location for someone who's going to make millions. You know what I
I
mean?
agree. In terms, obviously, there, Dan, you can see kind of landlords and even maybe lettings agents in the UK seeing that there's going to be a lot of weight on the shoulders for some of them at the moment. But looking at what you were talking about in terms of the business side of the state agency and where you can create more revenue, what does that look like for Smith Realty team at the moment? What angles do you cover? Where do you bring funding from? Is there anywhere that you'd recommend an agent go and speak to go, look, you might get more leads here than somewhere else?
Honestly, funny that well, I mean, that's a little bit different to where I was going to go was because it kind of changed my answer as you said with
Sorry.
leads and stuff at the end. But like one of the interesting things that has been recently been talked about, and actually mortgage companies recently, just because we've got the World Cup right here on our doorstep, we actually have had mortgage companies sending letters out to homeowners saying you are not allowed to Airbnb your property. It's not a part of your mortgage agreement. And that's a huge thing that's going to happen right now because people over here can charge probably like $1,000 or more a night for their house that's close to MetLife Stadium, or should we say, it's called this is also another thing. It's called the New Jersey New York Stadium, but it's very firmly in New Jersey, so it's really just the New Jersey Stadium.
Do you know what, mate? I can see why they've done that. But looking at the property, I don't get why the mortgage companies have got an issue if it's for a week or two.
Yeah,
Like, there's not that many games in New Jersey, is there? How many games are going to be played at that stadium?
eight games.
8 games over how many weeks?
We're the final, and then a bunch of games in between. England play here, bunch of teams play. It's over probably like
Have you
three
got
three or
tickets
four
for the?
weeks.
Are you going to the England game?
Not with the prices that they're at right now, but if the day
Is it
it's England
ridiculous?
versus England, we got Peru in our group.
Oh, I don't know off the
No,
top of my
Panama,
head.
Panama.
I've got a friend who's traveling over. He's part of an England supporters group, so he's been able to bag a couple of tickets.
Yeah,
I think he's doing New York, and then
prices
what's
have
the
been.
second game?
Oh no, the New York game for England is the last game of the group stage.
Yeah, so he's doing that somewhere else.
So
Anyway,
there's
back
three
onto real
games.
estate. I I find it mental that I can see why mortgage companies are doing that, but at the same time, it's such a short window of the year. It's such a small window of
Opportunity for people who are
opportunity,
investing.
but also the mortgage length.
Yeah,
Just fucking get on with it. Like, what's the issue here? Because someone's
yeah.
making money. Like, you're still getting your mortgage.
Exactly. That's it. But yeah, they were sending notes out, but there's a lot of people who are interested in doing that, you know what I mean? Like putting the house up
Mm,
even on like a Craigslist. They'll just bang it up there and be like, "Hey, listen, my property's for rent for the World Cup over the next 3 weeks. Anyone wants to sort of stay in the New Jersey, New York area,
yeah.
$1,000 a night." Boom.
People here, Dan. We've got obviously the Royal Liverpool Golf Course, and when the opens on, a lot of people do that. They rent out the driveways, rent out the houses. They disappear. I know a guy who rented his house out for 20,000 for the week, um, and he was going to rent it out for the second week, but he decided not to. I've got a client. Her house is 15,000 a week when it's getting rented out. It's crazy, but there's no stipulations.
No. And plus, like people who follow golf, people are people who usually have good amount of funds in their bank accounts as well, usually. And if they're traveling over here for the golf, for
Yeah.
I heard they're meant to be doing the Ryder Cup as well, actually, in the UK soon. But
Are they? Well,
yeah,
one of the guy I mentioned there, who's renting his for 20,000 a month, it was one of the open sponsors that ended up. I think he booked it for the 2 weeks, and then was like, "Oh, I'm going to stay in the week."
um,
But yeah,
yeah, so I mean, other avenues though, I mean, I really think that this is a great avenue for me, like working with landlords, getting to know them, understanding what their rents are currently, looking at the property, looking at what the value of the property could be increased to, which is fair, because you've also got to make increases that are fair, but again, bringing that to their tenants, and I think that's a valuable. I don't want to say it's not commodity, is it? But it's a valuable service that you can provide them that's going to
it's
ultimately.
an asset.
I mean, one of the specifics is like if the rent is 2,600 and over here the average sort of property increase can be anywhere from like 3 to sort of 6% in a year. You're adding 100, average it out at like 5% or 4%. It's around about $130 on that 2,600. So, or $150. You're increasing the rent up to $2,750. You're adding $150 a month, not just a week, a month.
Yeah.
And then you times that by the year, and you're over $1,000 in your pocket a year now. That could be a nice little like
Danny, where are you finding these people? How are you promoting it to them? So for obviously
he
this
called me.
podcast is they call you, but obviously this podcast is very much agent focused in terms of UK agents learn about the US, the US learn about the UK, us just having a bit of a shit chat kind of as we're going through. But as a business, where are you finding these landlords? How are you promoting the service? How are you getting them to buy into it? And ultimately keep that relationship moving
So
as you go on.
my plan from this point right now, and honestly, the gentleman Glenn who I met, he's actually given me an idea of how to do what you're just mentioning, which is how to promote this potential service after I get approvals from the brokerage. He was very much so one, word of mouth because I've got my investors groups first and foremost. Two,
Yeah.
add it as a service that you put on your website. So not just buying homes, selling homes, and stuff, but it's a service, or even like I think you have some kind of services like free home evaluations and stuff like that that you can put on your website.
Yeah.
Add that in as a service, like rental analysis expert. We'll help landlords increase their rents to what the market value is supposed to be. If you feel like you're getting not getting enough rent for what your property is worth, reach out to us today, and we'll help you one confirm whether you're not getting enough and then look at what the market value says. And then we'll also bring up a really friendly approach that comes in, talks to your tenant about the possible increase. And then you get to make a decision of, hey, this is where we go from here. And then the other avenues that he sort of brought up was he says like a lot of investor groups are on social media. So not just using your website, but a lot of investors are asking questions. A lot of landlords are asking questions, especially when they get tenants that stop paying, right, as well,
Yeah.
about how to evict tenants, who's the best attorneys to go to get the process done, how long does it take to evict a tenant. All of those good questions are in these forums. And he said, listen, we get into, I want you to create something that you get involved in these forums and be a resource for them. And then you can sort of generate those relationships that will help you get in touch with a lots of landlords locally. And you'll be their go-to resource. And that will spare a lot of other business, not just the rental analysis business, like I mentioned earlier, but also potential new properties that these landlords want to buy as investment properties. And also potential sales if they want to diversify or they want to go
So
down the route of specific properties that they buy.
what I like there, Dan, is everything you've just said about being a resource. I go away every year on a bit of a mastermind session with a guy called Perry Power. And this mastermind session, the way I take what I take from it, I should say, is to me, this is all about destroying the foundations of the business and then rebuilding it and going, look, what is the client experience? What tech are we using? Is that tech being used in the right space? Are we being efficient enough as a business, essentially? And ultimately, are we creating more business? Now, for a while, they've got a Facebook group called the UK Property Community. Let's say it's something like that. We'll put the link actually in the description of this pod. But within that group, you've got thousands of people leaving questions. I seen one today. I've got an offer of 269,000. I've got an offer of 275. What offer would you go with a little description of positions? And it's great because people just give their advice. Now I go on there and I make sure that I put this is from a perspective of an estate agent. But following that and really engaging with it, I've had people reach out to me and go, Liam, really appreciate this advice. This is what we did. I'm currently joining quite a lot of groups on Facebook that are your rural type of properties, your more unique settings, and ultimately starting to post within these groups video content from my office at home. And that video content is more just tailored to some of the questions I've seen, and it could be, look, I seen a post that come up in the group the other day, someone asking for best offer, second offer, what would you go with? And then just give my advice on the back end. Is that just raw, human, professional advice? And I do think that's where a lot of business will be created for yourself as well. If you're joining these groups or other agents out there, we know ourselves, if you join local community groups where you live, people will engage, people will call you out, you'll get valuations, you'll get listings on the back end of it. But
Have you thought that this avenue as well, mate? So over here, libraries are still a very popular place. I don't know at home how popular libraries are.
I've always thought you look a bit like a librarian.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
In the
Anyway,
US, that's probably not an insult, is it?
not really, no. I mean,
No.
depends where you go. Depends what state you're in, I guess. But so I went to this meeting with the gentleman that I talked about, and actually we were at a coffee shop, and right over the road was a library that I knew the director of the library. And I know quite a lot of directors in Morris County because I'd done some work with a gentleman years ago. when it was COVID and things were pretty slow for a period of time for 2 or 3 weeks. Just to get myself busy, I was doing some network cabling, and he had a contract with all of the local libraries. And what we would do is we'd go in, help them with their networks. And I built a little bit of a relationship with these library directors. And when I was doing that, I thought this is good because I noticed that still a lot of people use the libraries over here. One as a communal place, kind of similar to how youth clubs work, if you know what I mean. Except, kids will come in there and study in the evening time and just hang out and chat with one another in a quiet space. And then also they have adult groups, they have children's groups, they have all sorts of just things for like story times and stuff like that. I found it really interesting that they were still so involved in the community because I felt like libraries would be a dying um, business. It's not really a business. It's something that the local townships fund here, but they're sort of a dying breed because everyone has a library at the end of their hand in their phone, right?
Yeah.
But they've sort of evolved over here, which has been a great part of the community. So what I decided was, is there any way that I can integrate myself with the libraries in a respectful way that can come in and talk about real estate, which is more so on the education side, just educating them about like how important it is or how real estate can help you grow some sort of financial like growth, and also the real estate investing side where we sort of talk about growing a portfolio, which is on the website we mentioned earlier. But I approached them and I was like, is there any way that I could come in and do a talk with an adult session? It could be anything from like, what's the process of buying a house? What's the process of selling a house? Any questions that they might have, but building those relationships with community, like little foundations of communities from the towns that are around here. Every town has their own library. So if I work in Morris Union and Essex County primarily, can I bounce into each of these libraries? Let's say like I have 12 months in the year. Every month I dedicate one um, day out of the month that I go to to a library in a specific town and county and just promote, the process of buying, selling real estate or investing in real estate and answer questions. And also talk a little bit about financial literacy or if first-time home buyers are in the area, getting to sort of be an avenue that they see as a resource. And then it's kind of, I'm not getting paid for that time, but it's me putting myself out there and networking with potential new homeowners, being friendly with all the staff in the library, so then I'm on their mind as well, and just kind of growing that network to potentially generate more business from being a valuable resource. And that can even be like people have questions like, "Hey, do you know good plumbers in the local area?" Yes, we affiliate ourselves with people so that we can be a resource at all times. So I'm not just your realtor for today and selling you your house. When you need to fix something in your house, you need a good referral for an electrician, a plumber, whatever it might be. I have that in my arsenal. I want you to be the resource that you go. I want to be the resource that you go to and say, "Hey, I need someone that is trustworthy and proven to do this." Yeah,
You know what
not
would
a
be cool
problem.
there, Dan?
I've got this.
I think this is a great idea. And as you're kind of going into it, I'm thinking, right, how can how can you how can you make sure that you're still the face of it? And it's so simple. A QR sticker that when someone's moving into a house, you can put that QR sticker inside a cupboard. So it's on the door. So every time they open it for the pantry, let's say, they've got this QR code and you can leave an extra space that says put your internet here. And then it could be like they're going in, they're scanning, they've got their internet, they're connected. Or if there's an issue, they're scanning and it's coming up with a bit of I don't maybe a bit of a Smith Realty Team app. And then, right, what do I need? A plumber? Because you could build AI into it now where it comes up, goes, hey, it's Dan, your realtor. Um, you've clicked this because you've got a little bit of an issue. How can I help you?
Yeah,
Dan, what plumbers do you recommend? Bang, bang, bang. Give these a call, mention me, we'll get you sorted as soon as possible.
yeah, that's fantastic. To be
I
fair.
know I'm a genius. Absolute genius.
Good little intro. I've got a little QR code that I can use as well. It's actually in our magazine and booklets that we share, so I could probably integrate it somehow. I think that's fantastic. And one of the other things as well, I mean, you don't know like a lot about tax law over here, but I think taxes is an incredible thing that people need to study. Um, over here, when you speak to an accountant and an attorney, they'll have some sort of insight into it. But we're allowed to give gifts for our closings, and we're stipulated with what the amount we can sort of spend on gifts are. However, when it comes down to marketing material, we're not stipulated as heavily as we are with gifts. So if you want to buy a nice gift for your client, you can sort of use a sticker with your marketing material on it. Let's say you wanted to buy a vase with flowers and it costs a certain amount of money. You put the sticker on the vase. Now all of a sudden, it's a marketing piece and it's not a gift.
You're you're so American, aren't you? It's a
Vase,
vase.
vase. I
It's
knew
a
you were going
vase,
to
mate.
say
It's not
that.
a vase.
It's a vase, mate.
It's a vase. Let's get that clear. Like, this is the king's language. We will speak it properly. Don't be messing about with these tomatoes words. It's a
Yeah,
vase.
no.
It's
I've
a
been
vase.
speaking to my daughter this week about lots of stuff. She was saying like her cousin's name is Carter, and she says Carter, and I'm like, no, it's Carter.
Yeah.
Everyone else says it with the D here, and I'm like making everyone say it with the T.
Well, at least you're keeping up appearances and saying it properly.
Yeah,
Do you know what, Dan? I love that idea of a QR code in a cupboard. Just, it's something that consistently comes back.
yeah. And then it's also like, oh, you go into your friends coming into the house, and it's like, oh, you need the Wi-Fi. Oh yeah, it's just in the cupboard there. Open it up, it has the code. Boom, they open
Right?
it up, there's the
That
code. Oh, who's that on there?
I'm just trying to think. Like, it's mad because I've got this I like you've just been talking. I've thrown this idea out there, and I'm trying to think like, how can I implement it? What would be the best format in the background, and how would it appear? Does it you scan it? Does a video come up? Like, how do you point them in the right direction? How do you keep the details of the providers there? That's a banging idea because I think if it's in a cupboard and I know like trust you, Dan, I'm going to scan that and probably use your person.
Yeah, like what you could do is on under the QR code with like where you put it'd be a sticker, wouldn't it? QR code, Wi-Fi code, but I would write underneath the QR code, resource link or affiliates and partnerships resource link, right? And then that takes them to like your affiliates page on your website, even maybe, because then it
Do,
gets
do
you
you
onto
know?
your
Do you know
website.
why I think it's good, Dan? Because you think about your house now. How many times have you found like literally a little sticker or something along those lines in the house? I'm looking at one now on this radiator. That's never ever coming off. And if it's in a cupboard, it's never coming off. It's going to stay there for the next 30 years until someone rips the doors out and goes, "Oh, what's this? Oh yeah,
Yeah,
he sold his business years ago."
yeah, exactly. But it's something like you said, it's going to be there, and you'll be able to sort of tap into, it just keeps you fresh of mind again in it.
Yeah,
That's part of the problem within the industry. I think people, and even myself, is guilty of it. You're probably guilty of it as well. Is like you
I'm never
follow up
guilty
with
of it.
people, you follow up with people, and then all of a sudden you forget to follow up with them for a couple of months, and then all of a sudden they've made some kind of move within the real estate industry, and you get end up going,
Yeah,
oh, do you know what? I wasn't the first thing they thought about for some reason, and maybe that's just because I wasn't one in their cupboard, two giving them a quick call, or whatever it might be. But yeah, definitely
okay,
a
so
good avenue to add
for
into your
for
business.
for the agents out there, Dan, how do we continuously, without pestering people, be the first thing they think about within the real estate space? How do we continue that
Without being a pest.
without being a pest? Because it's very easy. Um, it's funny because I closed a sale this morning,
Yeah.
handed the keys, or I was collecting the keys, and we sold this property off market. And she said, Liam, even this week, so this property was on the market maybe August last year. We took it off and I sold it off market this year before our kind of new planned launch. And they said, Liam, we came off the market August last year. We're still receiving letters from agents. Like, I don't really know. Uh, just that, how can we stay in the forefront of the mind that it's not just letters pestering people ultimately?
So I think with past clients, yeah, that you've worked with and friends and family, it's all about the relationship that you've built with them.
Yeah.
And my process for me is I want all my clients to feel like they're borderline a friend with me. Like they're like if they have young kids that they could say, "Hey, we're going to the park. Do you want to come?" Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
With your daughter, like having that kind of friendship sort of value to your relationship, and then reaching out to them, touching base just to see how they are is an easier thing to do than we've all had this, like when you get the feeling you get when you get a spam call come up on your phone and you go, oh, and you're like, either do I answer this or don't I answer this? You don't want your clients to feel that way about you, right? So it's just got to be a value add call when you're speaking to people. So I always think, I mean, the one thing that one of my first mentors in real estate said to me is like, you should reach out to your sphere of influence and also your past clients and just do this one thing, which is, and I'm sure I've mentioned this before, but it's ask them what's been going on, write it down, ask them what they've got coming up or what they're doing like now, and then if they're looking forward to something in the future as well. And those three questions you write down and you write down the answers to them. And then the next time you touch base with them in 2 or 3 months or a month, whatever it might be, you go back to those questions. And this is where having a CRM kind of benefits you because you can write this information into a CRM, right? I don't know if you have a CRM, but I haven't
Yeah.
been
Yeah.
utilizing one at the moment that effectively. And that's something that I'm working on. But then you can go back to your CRM, look at the three questions you posed, what the answers were, and then you can ask like, and you come across so much more genuine because it shows you cared. Like you wrote this down, you took notes of what they said, you're invested in what's going on in their life. You well wish for them. You know what I mean? You want good things for them, and people resonate with that. So I think that that's one of the main ways you can do it. We do obviously a monthly newsletter, which we send out to everybody. And honestly, out of all the people we've added to it, we've only had a very few people unsubscribe from it, which is great. So people do like look at it, open it every now and again. Sometimes people just let it go into the junk, which is completely fine. But also it's just that maybe they get an email, they see it, and then they just like let it go. But at least they saw it and they thought about it for a brief
Mm.
moment. I don't know. What do you think? What else do you think is a good way to sort of keep on top of people's minds and be that, resource for them?
So with every single client, and I think this is a slight difference between the self-employed model versus the employed model here, because the employed model is very much it's 9 to 5. That's when you can contact them if you're lucky to get through. There's no real relationship, and there are agents out there who will promote. We are a personal agency, but to me, if one person's valuing, one person's negotiating, one person's doing the viewings, one person's doing the sales progression, like no one actually knows that story. So for me, it's really important to be that face and look, this is who you're working with. Um, but being at the forefront. So when we onboard a client, we set up a WhatsApp group straight away. Now, I cannot stand emails, cannot stand them. I'm on my phone all day. WhatsApp is my most used app. Um, and it's great, but it allows me to build up relationships with the clients and everything's in there. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Liam Gretton, Sarah, our sales progressor, like we all know what's going on. Everyone's on the same song sheet. There's no excuse for anyone not to know what's going on at any one time. But then, obviously, when they have moved into their property, people aren't really moving straight away. So we closed the group down after about 2 weeks of them moving in. That 2 weeks allows any teething problems, any issues with the property, we can always go back to the sellers and get the answers for them. And then it closes. And it's more then kind of just following up maybe a few months later and going, Dan, how are you getting on? How are you settling into the house? But from there, yeah, it's great. Are they moving at any point moving forward? The odds are pretty slim because we want people to find their forever home. But there's a few things that I want to test really more for that empathy element of he does care. It's not just about getting a sale and getting the commission. So I've been watching a few videos of realtors out in Australia. And they seem like you guys, very innovative, looking forward. How can we? And it's odd because I feel like the real estate industry has left being just sales to now being influencer territory as a salesperson. So it's a bit of an odd phase I find at the moment.
That's because of what you're talking about, though, trying to be top of mind all the time.
Mm. Yeah, do you know what, mate? You've just nailed it. You've just nailed it. It's not daft at all. It's being at the forefront.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're becoming. Yeah. So what I seen this week was a video of an agent knocking on the doors um, of neighbours, and this seems very normal for you guys, but for us, it's very much like there's no need for us to knock on the neighbour's door. We're dealing with this property.
Hmm.
But basically, you go around the neighbours with a card, and you get them to say, "Hiya, it's Liam at number 42. Welcome to the neighbourhood," and everyone signs it. And then you're giving that to the buyers as they're walking in. They already feel like they're welcome in that community. I thought that was a really, really nice touch.
Yeah, where
And
did I
and stuff
see that? Did I send that to you? I swear I sent that
you
to you
might
on
you
social
might have
media.
done. You might have done, mate. Yeah, you may have
It's a
done.
brilliant
But
idea, though, isn't it? It's like a
it
welcome to
is.
the neighborhood. It's a reason for you to go out there and speak to those neighbors. You're not harassing them. It's not like soliciting. You're like just literally saying, "Hey, listen, I just sold this house around the corner. I thought it would be a cool idea for me just to have the neighborhood show how great it is and have them welcome this family into the neighborhood. Would you mind signing a
Taking
welcome
two
to the
minutes to sign
neighborhood?"
it, mate. Isn't it's a good idea, isn't it?
Yeah.
I love
And then
it.
not only
I'm
that,
gonna.
like you can literally say, I can leave this with you if you want to take it or not, take it or leave it. And most people are going to take a card off your hand if you've got a card handy. Do you know what I mean? So if you give them a business card whilst you're there, it's like, oh, can I leave this with you in case you ever have the thought or whatever? You don't have to, obviously, but if you have a good conversation, depending on each
Yeah,
individual
yeah, yeah,
interaction with each home that you just stop by for a card sign signature, boom, you ask them and go from there. And then
yeah,
also, like, you could also say, like, they're a young family, they have kids. So I don't know if you have children, just like a little bit of forefront of who the people are moving into the neighborhood. And then, like, because people have kids and their kids might want to become friends with them, and play or be a,
yeah.
yeah,
Oh, sorry, mate. I've just got.
it's great.
I put my phone on Do Not Disturb, yeah, it's through.
No
Um,
worries.
your side.
Oh, look at it beeping away.
Can you hear this, Dan? There we go. Could you hear the call coming through?
No, I heard something a second ago, but not now.
Ah,
You taking a picture of us doing the
yeah.
podcast?
So yeah, I've taken a picture just to send it. That was a phone call that was coming through from a guy called Matt. He's been an estate agent for quite a few years, and he's just decided to launch his own business with EXP. So I'm just kind of making sure that he's doing well. One, approaching clients, building his business. It's actually interesting that Matt's called there because we were talking about before about other revenue streams for your business.
Yep.
Obviously, I'm sure a lot of guys out there know EXP. EXP is still relatively new in the UK, maybe 6 years maximum. But within here, we've got our bread and butter sales, we've got our lettings, we've got our referrals through solicitors, surveyors, etc., removals. Um, I take shares within EXP Global, which is great. And then EXP's got that revenue share model, which essentially I would say brings in what, let's say 2,500 per agent, but it doesn't come out the agent's pocket. It comes out of EXP's pocket. And I really, really like that model. Um, it's something that, I see some agents where it has been life changing. They're bringing in 20, 30 grand a month, but then they've maybe taken a focus on revenue share where I don't how actually Dan, how does EXP come across in the US? Is it more like, do you find it's very recruitment focused rather than, look, Dan, I want to help build your business?
It used to be visioned that way. Like if you go back sort of 7 years, 6 or 7 years, it was like the way people used to describe it, and I don't want it to come out in a negative light because it's a great business, to be honest with you. Um,
Can't wait for
but
you to join.
people, people used to think of it as like the pyramid scheme of real estate.
Yeah,
But no, it's a great model, and it's just like the model itself is just so that you can make the platform want to grow continuously. Like people want to support one another, and then also like you support the people who are underneath you in the model, because there's always some kind of advantage to a person who introduces someone to EXP, because of the rev share model, right? Like you generate
Yeah.
some income from EXP's portion of whatever that agent makes. So it's kind of a great little, um, uh, let's use the
But
word
that
pyramid scheme.
also caps at a certain point.
Yeah, it's like 7 layers deep.
Yeah.
Over here it is as well. Like, because you have
Yeah.
like 7 people below you, you make income
No,
from
but
each.
what I mean, Dan, is like that. So here it caps at
Oh,
24,000.
for the brokerage, yeah. So you'll earn
Yeah.
24,000 for the brokerage, and then that 24,000 is broken into profit for the agency, and then money that goes to other agents in the increment that it goes.
In that increment of who's
Yeah.
on that downline. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what, mate? When I first partnered with EXP, I didn't really know how to take it, and I thought as well, like, oh, is this a bit of a pyramid scheme setup? But I've been with them now for 5 years. That's half a decade, and I'm still waiting for the catch. And there must be models in the US that essentially mirror what EXP
Yeah,
does.
there's a real estate company that's doing really well now. I hate marketing other people's businesses, to be honest with you. I just don't think that we should be doing it. Like we should just go to Smith Realty team,
But
but
then
there is
I
another
get it.
business that
But
acquired.
you can also admire other businesses, and
I
like
think so,
there's
yeah.
agents in the UK, mate, local agents further afield, that I do sit there and I think, wow, like you've built an incredible business. But then at the same time, there's operations that they do that I sit there and just kind of, that's not me. Like there's one locally, and I'm led to believe their agents have to make 50 calls a day. Like
Yeah.
that's just pestering people, and
Yeah.
then people slag you off when you're out and about. There's no need for it.
I guess as well, like I was looking at this. There's a website over here called PropStream, and it's a service that you can purchase, right? That basically has all of the data on not everyone, but all of the a lot of valuable data that you can get access to, such as like how long people have lived in their homes, right? So you look at your local community and you go, oh, how many people have lived in their house between 9 and 11 years, or 9 and 13 years, because usually between 9 and 13 years living in a property, people are starting to like life changes are happening. They need either to upsize, whether they were a small family or a family that got a house and they need to get into a bigger home, or they need
Yeah.
to downsize, or they just might in general want to move. So like this website tracks everything from people who when they moved into a property to people who recently passed, and it might be an estate sale, people going through divorce and stuff like that. And it can sort of give you an alley of like, hey, you might want to reach out to these people, um, which is valuable. But again, it would be a random call off the cuff, you calling someone, and there's no sort of relationship. It's just soliciting at the end of the day. Um,
Yeah.
and but again, if you get yourself in the right place at the right time, like people, even with me, like I always think about like there's like Realtor.com, Zillow.com, all these people trying to sell you leads. Sometimes they might call you on the right day and say the right things that make you think, yeah, you know what, I'll throw a couple of $100 at it, you know what I mean? Or I'll throw $1,000 at it and see if it works. Because if you get one sale, it pays for it, you know what I mean? Sometimes you just have a moment where you think, and if they catch you at the right time, then that's kind of it. But um, if it being a permanent plan to do it, I don't know. Um, I'm not a huge fan of just consistently cold calling people, but I know that's
Yeah.
a huge part of people's businesses over here, especially EXP agents, to be honest with you, over here.
Maybe it's the culture within it where, like, here, from the EXP agents I know in the community that kind of I'm a part of within that EXP network, I don't feel like it is very much just hammer the phone, hammer the phone, hammer the phone. I feel like it's more personal level, straight talking, let's have open conversations rather than pestering people to go, why don't you come on the market with us? Where I know for a fact, if I put, like, I've put properties live this week, I know that there's going to be a local agent in particular who's on the phone going, oh, well, we can do this and we've got this many officers and we can do that. No one gives a shit. Like you're marketing on Rightmove alone. Like
Mhm.
it's a one card pony
Yeah.
where we're using three of the biggest portals in the country. We've got this huge network. Like you don't offices really are just that's great. You've got staff that you need to keep in one location to make sure that they're calling. Um, but yeah, mate, big question for you actually. We've had a really good chat today. We need a title for Amanda.
I think it's different opportunities to look at outside of the traditional model.
Yeah,
How can you be
yeah.
of value in the local community to generate different ways of uh, attracting business, different ways of
Do you know what,
attracting
mate?
business?
We actually need another episode where I did try to bring on today. Do you remember Quinn at Selling Social on
Yeah.
Instagram? So I did speak to Quinn and I was like, can we get you on the podcast this week? But I think it was just too short notice. Because I think she's got some really, really good points in terms of how we connect with potential clients. I really like what she's promoting out in the US about being personal, being at the forefront, and I think she would be good to come on. But also Simon Gates, I'm really keen to get him on at some point. That will be a long podcast. There's so much insight, but he's got so many tips and hints that will allow us to connect with these clients and ultimately with more business.
Yeah.
I
I
think
also
that's the
think,
main thing.
mate, you're always do whenever you do your videos on properties and you showcase the properties, I always find that you come across very, very well on camera. And I always think that for you, you could be more on camera just in your day to day. Do you know what I mean? Like of posting social media content outside of pictures. Like, is there a video that you could post
Okay.
that's educationally? Because I just think you're so good at like coming across, and I think that's something that I've got to work on. I was speaking to Melanie from Quirky Digital about it
Yeah.
as well. Like being more active in social media, but not just, especially for me out here in the real estate market. Like, do you know what? One of the reasons why Glenn, the gentleman who I met, the investor, he was like, "Your voice is a tool." He's like, "It's a key tool. You should be able to connect with anyone. They'll just love listening to you." Do you know what I mean? Because of my
Yeah.
accent, and I mean, I think for you, you come across really like professional, like your storytelling is great. And that's just something that Melanie was saying like earlier on in the year, like you should be more active on social media because people
It's
just love listening to your voice. Like, but you've got
I
to
get
find
it,
your
mate.
niche too.
It's a lot easier said than done. And I
100%.
find like I really, really enjoy making the videos. Actually, I don't think I've told you. I may have mentioned it the other week, but I've been speaking to and it, I've been speaking to an assistant producer at Channel 4. They are launching a new renovation show. Um, and we've done all these press releases in the background. For me, it's great to now build up relationships with these producers. Hopefully, that could open the door. You never know. But they're looking for people locally. They've contacted me to kind of go, Liam, do you have anyone who's selling one house, maybe two, bringing it together, renovating another, bringing families together, and ultimately creating, renovating a property for the next chapter of their life. So it's good that all these press releases that I've done with Quirky Digital in the past, that people are now starting to see it and go, right, he's an expert in that space, and that also helps.
Mm.
But mate, we could go on and on and on. And I know you've got stuff to do. It's coming up to 4 o'clock in the UK on a Friday. Um, so I'm kind of looking to finish up and go home. And it's a nice day, so I
Go to the pub.
might even throw the barbecue on.
Oh, the Barbie. Not bad
Barbie,
idea.
yeah. Yeah, we don't get good weather often, so I've got to utilize it. But Dan, again, another good week, another good podcast, some good results, some downside results. We go into a new week, new goals, get this ballroom shot. And actually, before I finish up, I really appreciate what you said there about videos. I've just had two videos come through. What I do find is put a camera in front of me with a videographer. I'm great. Put a camera or a phone in front of me, I feel like a fool. So I need to get over that. We've just been doing the office at home, so I want to be doing more videos for LinkedIn, mainly for that kind of revenue share approach with EXP. Um, So yeah, you should be seeing them hopefully next week.
You don't have the problem that I have though, mate. I don't think where when you make a mistake or you feel like some kind of pressure. I remember back in the day when you were in school and you had to do a presentation in front of your peers, and the nervousness of standing at the front of the classroom that I used
Oh
to get. And for me, being a redhead and pale as anything, the face would just go beetroot red, and then I'd just be
yeah,
nervous and stuttering and stage fright and everything. I'm a very freelance wisdom kind of person, if you know what I mean. Like, I mean, you
just
used to
do
know
it.
me. I used to do dance at school for crying out loud. If you remember back in sixth form, but I could never ever go on a stage and perform in front of people because I was just that nervous. I do think it's changed. I'm very much more confident in speaking, especially about things that I know. Um, but do you have that issue where you end up going red?
And do you know what, mate? I actually think that this is something that I really took from the army. So I joined very, very young, had some very young life experiences. Like I was 19, 20 and in Afghan. So you have to grow up very, very fast in that environment. And then when I come home, I must have been doing something right because I promoted very fast, like 3 years ahead of my time when I first came back from Afghan. But naturally, I'm then in that section of teaching lessons, being at the forefront of a company, which is 100, 120 blokes at one time when you're on duty. So there's a lot of responsibility there. And I found that that's probably where I grew more as an individual within that leadership role. Where now, like, put me in front of a camera. When I first did it, very nervous. The more I've done it, it doesn't bother me. I don't actually picture the person holding the camera. I'm just looking at that lens, and that's all I need to know. My lines, the lens, the certain points I'm saying it, and I'm sorted. Um, I'm actually speaking. So EXP are holding their UK conference. I think there's around about 600 agents going to it in Birmingham, and I've been asked to sit on one of the panels and speak there. So like I'm buzzing for that. I won't get nervous because I think, you know what, it's like being from this area. You'll make a little joke and you're just like, right, sound, add a few laughs, let's calm down. People are listening.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think
I'm looking
honestly
forward
as
to that.
well, just what you said there is actually great value for other agents to sort of start to try and grow their confidence in that area of the business. So that was a great little touch, mate.
Perfect. All right then, mate. Well, let's finish up. It's been a good podcast. I've enjoyed it. We went to finish it. We carried on. We are going to finish it now and let everyone else go on to singing the songs as they're in the car driving. Um, so yeah, thank you very much for joining this week's episode of Agents Across the Pond. We will be back next week because, funny enough, we actually enjoyed doing this. Hopefully, Amanda will be with us, but we're not 100% sure as of yet.
She's close to the end.
She's very close to dropping, isn't she?
Yeah.
It's exciting. It's exciting. But perfect, Dan. It's been a pleasure, mate. And I will see you next week.
Catch you next time, guys.